Perfect. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining us on this nice rainy Thursday morning. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 honors the land, the people, and the treaties, recognizing the original guides of these territories and their enduring contributions. As treaty people, we all share the responsibility to uphold these agreements in a fair and respectful way. As a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 is committed to supporting Indigenous communities by creating space for their stories and helping foster socioeconomic growth through tourism. So, just a couple of housekeeping notes. First, the workshop's being recorded. If you missed the little a warning at the beginning, it's going to be available after today's session on the RTO9 website, which is just rto9.ca. There's also opportunity for engagement and questions throughout the webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to either pop them in the Q&A box if you want to do so anonymously, or you can pop into the chat window and engage with Jennifer on the side there. Always open and welcome and looking forward to some engagement in terms of what your business is and what you're looking for and what you need help with. You're also going to receive an email following today's session. It's going to have a quick 2-minute survey link. If you're able to spare some time for Jennifer and I to review the workshop, that would be greatly appreciated. And now, without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to our facilitator this morning, who has a lot of ground to cover with meta ads, Jennifer Baker.
Thank you, Meg. And I'm glad to be back for part two. And as Meg was mentioning, there is a lot of information with respect to meta advertising. And for those of you who did miss last week, or maybe you just heard about this part two, there is a part one, which is up on the RTO9's website. So I'd recommend going and taking a peek at that maybe later today or when you've got some time. So today we're going to be talking about all the things part two of meta advertising. So my name is Jennifer Baker. I'm the digital marketing agency owner of JBC. So it's myself plus a team of 6 wonderfully talented individuals doing all things digital, from social media management to website design, Google ads, meta ads, and a lot of the things in between. So we've been doing this for about 14 years now. And what we're going to be talking about today are the more intricate parts of meta advertising. So we're going to be talking specifically about creating campaigns, creating ad sets, and creating ads. And I do recognize that there might be some terminology that's a bit strange or a little bit new. So if you ever need clarification or you'd like me to go over something again, or just maybe reword it in a different way, don't hesitate to put that question in the chat. I've got the chat open. I can kind of see it as we're going. So I'm here to make sure that you've got the majority of your questions about meta advertising answered by the end of today's session. So what we're going to be talking about, some of the campaign fundamentals. We're going to be talking about the different types of campaigns that you can run. We are going to be talking about what ad sets are and kind of what's found within that area of meta ads. We're going to be talking about budgeting, scheduling, and then finally, we're actually going to make the ad. So that's kind of the last little bit that we do talk about. And oftentimes people are like, when do we get around to making the ad? And it's honestly the last thing that you do in this process. The other thing, if you are new to my sessions, I will be demonstrating some of these actions live, so you can share in the joy and frustration of creating meta ads in the Ads Manager portal. So let's get started. So step one for today, we're going to be talking about the different campaign types. And there's a number of different campaign types depending on what you want to do. And you need to determine for your business, why are you doing this ad? What are you getting out of it? And it can fall generally within one of these different buckets. So when you're creating ads through the Meta Ads Manager, these are the options that you're given. So you're given 6 different options. So awareness, traffic engagement, leads, app promotion, and sales. And generally, once you get into the ad sets, they're all about the same. There's a few differences, but 95% of the information is about the same. Okay, so let's talk about what these different campaigns are going to do. And if, again, you're new to the session or returning, please include your name and your business in the chat. I tend to lean on those for all of my examples. So if you are an e-commerce business, you're a health practitioner, the more I know about your business, the more I'm going to lean on it to work through different examples. So you could get a little bit of kind of one-on-one group coaching, I guess you could say, here in today's session. All right, so let's talk about the first campaign type. So the first campaign type is called awareness. So awareness refers to kind of expanding reach, the number of eyeballs that are going to see your advertisement, increasing overall brand awareness where people are like, oh, I've seen that logo before. I've heard that business name before. It could be video views. Maybe you've made I'll call it a commercial, and you want people to see that. Or you've opened a new location in a different town or just a new location. Oh, yes, my familiar people. Okay, perfect. The second type, which is somewhat more common, this is one that gets used often, is traffic. So the whole goal of a traffic campaign is to take people from your meta advertisement and to send them somewhere else on the internet. So you might be sending them to your corporate website, you might be sending them to an Instagram profile. Kind of, you can send them anywhere. You can send them to an Eventbrite page if that's the case. So these ones will often be defined by getting link clicks, landing page views, Instagram profile visits, and so on. So let's see. Let's pick on Julia for a second. So Kingston Canadian Film Festival. So welcome. So for Julia, their goal as the organization might be to say, hey, we've got this great event coming up for the film festival. We want to get people from Facebook over to purchase our weekend pass or our tickets. So traffic would be a really great campaign to perform that action because the whole goal is to get people from Facebook to the purchase page. So that's something that would be great for that campaign. And then I see that Kay from Architectural Conservancy, promoting heritage and tourism. So that one might be more awareness. So if you've got a budget just to talk about what you do for the community that you're here, you want people to know more about you. So you might be more in the awareness category. Okay. Third type is engagement. Don't get caught up with this one. So this one is getting people to react with the post that they see or the ad that they see. So this one is commonly known as, I'll call it like the boost post. So you take an existing post and you want people to like it and comment on it, which is great. But remember, you've got to make money at some point. So Julia wants to sell tickets and Erica wants people to come into the restaurant. So don't lose sight of kind of that ultimate end goal. Engagement's really great. But ideally it's going to funnel people towards liking a post, perhaps watching a video, commenting on a post, and so on. So if that achieves your end goals, then great. But if not, there might be something more better suited for your organization. Okay. Leads. This one is becoming quite common, actually. I've seen a lot of these pop up on Facebook and Instagram. So it almost looks like a fillable form. So let's see. Maybe Elizabeth, actually, from South Coast Design, maybe puts an ask out and says, are you interested in custom homes? Leave your name and phone number and someone from our team will call you back. So it looks more like a fillable form type of advertisement where that information is collected by Meta and then sent to you to say, hey, Jennifer Baker is interested in a new home. Here's their phone number. So that's what those instant forms mean. And that would be, I'm just checking everyone in here. Probably Elizabeth would be the one that would use that out of here. Okay. Oh, I didn't change the title on this one. This one is called, I'm just going to do this now because this will bother me. We're just going to do this. Slideshow. So this one is called sales, not leads. So this one is called sales. So this one is really great if you run an e-commerce store. So you sell physical products. This is kind of a key thing. You sell physical products online, and these types of ads will encourage people to purchase. In the ad portal, it will actually tell you how much of the revenue earned is attributed back to the respective meta ad. And then it will also provide you with a cost per acquisition, which is very cool. Um, there's a group that we work with, and we spend, let me see, 20, don't have a heart attack. We spend about $20,000 a month in meta ads to do these online purchases of a physical product. It's shipped Ontario, Quebec, East Coast. But on the other side of it, they spend 20,000, but they bring in anywhere from 150 to $200,000 per month. So their investment is 20, and out of that is anywhere from 150 to $200,000. Okay. So then from that, it tells you how much of that revenue is attributed to the ads, and then what that cost per acquisition is. Okay. So it's a very cool, it's very, very cool. So we do standardized ads for this specific client. The other thing it can do is it can look at your existing catalog and tailor the ad to the individual. So there's a woman that I work with. She runs a gift shop. And whenever the ads show up to me, I get the things that it will show me are the wine glasses and the wine glasses that have birds on them. So if anyone knows me, they know that I enjoy wine and I also love birds. So this catalog knows that much about me and will specifically show me those products, which I think is so bizarre, but it works. Okay. All right. Before I move on from the campaign types, does anyone have any questions about them? Has anyone tried these before? Erica mostly uses awareness. Okay. So Erica, you could, depending on the setup, and I haven't taken a peek yet, but you could use, yeah, you could use traffic and then direct people to, if you have like a booking site, like an open table or similar. So you could say booking for, I don't know, anytime, like really, and then send people over to open table for whatever platform you use. Could be an option. Julia, so great question. Sales work better for physical. Yes, they will work better for physical merchandise because, yes, they just generally work better. And let me just take a peek. Okay, and the other thing is too, Julia, is how the system for your ticketing works. So when I talk about sales, it's generally like like traditional e-commerce where it's like a Shopify or WooCommerce or similar. Um, it depends on where your ticketing is, that ticketing site, because sometimes if it's a third party developed, it gets a bit weird. Um, but you could always try it and see. It can't hurt. I know you're working with a budget. Okay. All right. Thank you for your participation. Makes my day better. All right. So step 2. And I'm just going to quickly bring up what this looks like. So everyone can see this new screen. I'm going to take a peek, make sure everyone can see it. Yep. Okay. So this is generally what it's going to look like. It hasn't changed these options recently. So now we've got our awareness traffic. So we just pick them off here. And remember, for those of you who were here last week, my love-hate relationship with the Advantage Plus, their AI. So it wants to bump you into this AI created tailored. I still like to do the manual because it's not completely what I would like it to be yet. So still select the manual, in this case, traffic. So this is what that first page looks like. So there's a lot. So if this is your first time in this portal, there is a lot happening. So on the left-hand side, we've got our campaign, we've got our ad set, and we've got our ads. Okay, so that's how we kind of navigate between these three places I'll be going today. And then this is our campaign. So I'm just going to call this 2025 example. Okay. Auction is kind of the standard. I'm keeping Advantage Plus off. We're not going to talk about A/B testing yet. And then these are those special ad categories we talked about yesterday, okay? Or yesterday, last Thursday. So they're all in here if we need to choose those. So the next bit that we're going to talk about is this ad set. And this is this page can be very overwhelming for a lot of people. They do tend to change things frequently. So what I'm showing you today, you might get into your own similar portal and say, Jennifer's look like this, but mine looks slightly different. At any given point, these will look different. So my screen might look different than your screen. So don't be alarmed. It's pretty par for the course when you're working with Meta products. Okay. You can hear my one team member, I think, giggling. I don't know. She knows. All right. So let's talk about our ad set. What does this mean? So the ad set is where you're setting your budget, setting your schedule, choosing your audience, determining where the ads go. It's a whole host of kind of options in here. So the performance goal is the first thing that you're going to see. Maybe some of you saw what is sometimes called a conversion. But this section at the top of the page will change depending on what ad type what campaign type you choose. So if it's traffic versus awareness, this will look slightly different. After this section, everything is pretty much the same. So for awareness, I've chosen a performance goal of maximum reach of ads, and then I've chosen my Facebook page. If you're an individual who manages multiple Facebook pages, so whether that's what you do for a job, or you've got your business account, your 9-to-5 job, and then you have your side hustle, just make sure you've got the right Facebook page in there. Just double check it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is budget, and this is always a really big question. So there's two types of ways that you can allocate budget. So the first way is called a daily budget. So it's your average daily spend. So Meta is going to try to get to that budget every day. And recently I've noticed they almost have like a little asterisk that says we might spend slightly over this budget if the ad is performing well. So that's just something to know that if you are, and generally anyone who works with a budget, if you need to adhere to a very strict budget, it's just something that you need to be made aware of. Okay. The second type is called a lifetime budget. So a lifetime budget is useful if you never want to exceed. So if your director or you as the director say I cannot spend more than $500, then that's the number that you're going to want to put in here. And then over the duration of the campaign, Meta is just going to kind of divide that 500 over the number of days that the ad runs. Yes. So Erica, you're exactly right. For a daily, if we have a strict budget, yeah, that's exactly it. You're going to go slightly under because, and I'll show this to you when I bring the screen over, it gives like a little, like we might, exceed this. So again, that's something to be made aware of because you need to know this. So your boss, your manager says, why did you overspend on this? And you'll say you put in the right number, but then Meta has its own kind of idea. Okay. This is a very cool and underutilized tool. So this is the scheduling option for the ads. So while you can say, run the ads from November 1 through to the, November 30th, if you're choosing a lifetime budget, you can determine when the ads actually appear. So I've just kind of picked some random dates here to show you how it works, but if Erica, if you want to have the ad show, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the ad reads book for Friday, Saturday, you could just have those ads run and they only show up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they disappear the rest of the time. And then you just have it a little bit more maximized. Or again, that the majority of bookings for, dinners come in between 12 and 3. So you could block off that time. It's an option. Others that it might be useful for. I don't think for the other option. So maybe Amy here. So Amy is the owner of a wellness clinic. So maybe Amy writes their ad saying, call us between 9 and 5 and Sarah will answer your phone and book you in for your consultation. So if you've got verbiage like that, then have the ads only run, 9 to 5, where somebody's going to be physically answering the phone if that's how you take that correspondence. So there's a couple different examples that you could use for it. Oops. Okay. Sorry, I just lost all your question. Okay, so before we move on, I just want to show you what this little budgeting looks like here. I'm going to make this bigger so we can all see it. Okay. So there's my there's my daily budget. Okay, it says $30. You'll spend an average. This is the new verbiage they've used. Your maximum daily spend is 52. That's a big difference if you're, if you have to adhere to a very strict budget. Okay. And then this little box here with kind of the teal bar, that's AI, that's their Advantage Plus saying you should do it for 84. It's like, well, I don't have budget for 84. Okay. And then there's our schedule. And then you can put a start and an end date here. So let's look at the other one. Let's say lifetime. And then it's 350. And then it says you will spend no more than. So for those of you that operate with that strict budget, Lifetime is probably the better option for you. And then again, here it's saying, similar businesses. Well, that's great. That's not me. And then you add your start and end date. Why is my schedule not there? Oh, I see. Sorry. So you can add your start and end date. You can do custom, whatever works for you. And then run ads on a schedule. So you can say, yes, have the ads run on certain days, certain times, which I think is really handy if that's, your customers or clients call on certain days and times, or they make specific bookings on certain days and times. It's just kind of maximizing and making your dollar go a bit further. Okay. But again, this schedule option is only available if you're using Lifetime. It's not available if you choose to use daily. Okay. Audiences, which I'm not talking about today. So the next little stop on our ad set is our audiences. And this is where you can either choose to create your new audience, as we see on the top, or we can use a saved audience. And I'm going to show you where you can pull the audience that I told you to do as homework. I'm a teacher at heart. So we're seeing the same options that we saw last week as we went through the audiences. So locations, age, gender, detailed targeting, and language. So let's take a look at those. Okay, so this is where their kind of Advantage Plus gets a bit bossy, I think is a good way to put it. It gets a bit bossy. So the first box here, it says locations, Canada, minimum age 18, and then exclude. So that's a bit bossy. That's too broad for, I want to say, the majority of the businesses here. Yeah, I don't think any of you are really going to use this. Not too broad. So let's ignore that. And then there's the Advantage Plus. And you're like, well, right now you're just targeting Canada, anyone aged 18 plus. So let's go to switch to original audience options. And this is small. So I've increased my screen size quite a bit. So let's go to a normal screen size. It's kind of small and sometimes it's gray. So you miss it. So let's get in here. And now it's going to prompt you again. It says, no, we think you're making a bad decision. And you're like, no, sir, I want to use an original audience. Okay. So now we're in this section here. So now we can actually make a new audience if you haven't made one previously, or we can use a saved audience. So that saved audience from last week that I made is this example. What was I working on? Maybe it was our friend Amy. So we were working on Belleville, 40 plus female health and wellness. Great. So I can add that in. Custom audiences. So if you use any of your custom audiences that you created, so your pixels, your Facebook engaged people, they're all in here. If they're available and ready to be used, they'll be indicated by the green circle. If they're not available to be used, then they are the gray circle. So you can do both. So let's add that in. So see how it's already done for you now? You don't have to do it every single time. It's kind of a one and done once you understand your audience. Okay. So it's done. All right. So that's our audience. So the importance of creating audiences, and you can create multiple. So if Amy wanted one for women and one for men, maybe one for children, then well, no, not for children. It's written different. But you could have those different audiences set up. All right. So the next little bit that we're going to talk about is placement. So let's see. Great question, Hala. If you were running an ad monthly, would you create a new ad set every month? Great question. So there's a couple of different ways you can organize it. And if you're like me, you always find different ways to organize different things. So you could have this setup that you want. Let's see. Example 1. So then you could have one ad set, and then you're going to quickly duplicate this. I'm going to take off these. Watch what it's going to do. So under one campaign, you can have multiple ad sets, and then you can have multiple ads. Okay, so now we've got ad sets. I'll just call it 2. And then ad set 1. Okay. And then our ad, which I'll get to in a minute, but ad set A, ad set B, and ad set C. Okay, so depending on how you organize things, it's great if you've got your whole plan for 2026. You could do something like this. And then under the one campaign for traffic, then it's all scheduled accordingly. So you're not creating all these kind of fields. And then you can have different ads running as well. Some people like to have separate campaigns. That's also fine. It really comes down to how you want to organize it internally so that it makes sense for you or it makes sense for your team. I want to say there's no benefit necessarily to something like this. All right, let's go back to placements. Who knows what placements is? Oh, I'm scrolling here. Oh, never mind. It's on the screen. Never mind. So placements refer to where the advertisements are actually going to show up on kind of the metaverse, essentially. And there's so many options now that people don't necessarily know. So I'll say Facebook ads and they go, oh yeah, ads on Facebook. And actually it should be meta ads and meta ads that show up on Facebook or Instagram or Messenger or WhatsApp or Threads, and then what they call the audience network, which is a third party group of websites that show um, ads from Meta. So as of Monday, these are all the options for places that your ads can appear. And for the most part, you can choose and customize where your ads appear. So if you don't want them on Reels, if you don't want them on Threads, or maybe you only want um, Instagram Reels, you can do that. And naturally, you do have to fight against the Audience Plus a little bit. So you just say, nope, manual, and then you can pick and choose what you think is best uh, for your business. For example, and I don't think anyone's a retailer here, but I'll give the example anyways. One of our clients, they're a retailer, they sell a lot of like new jewelry, not used. And we found after a couple weeks that Meta was sending a lot of the ads to Marketplace. So, you know how you see ads in the Facebook Marketplace? They were being sent there, and we were getting really bad conversions because people thought they were like secondhand, like rings and jewelry, but they weren't. But that's where they were showing. So what we took them off of Marketplace, um, or the placement Marketplace, and had other placements kind of fill in, and the conversions improved a lot. Right? Because we don't go to Marketplace generally to find new things. We know we're finding used things often. Um, so little considerations like that. Okay. So these are all the places your ads can go. You can pick and choose what you want and what you don't want. We're going to talk about reporting in a moment. So you can make that kind of evaluation. So there's our placement. So it looks very cluttered in here. So, oh, great question. Audience network. So that audience network is a grouping of third-party websites that your ads appear. So very similar function. The function is very similar to Google Ads. So you know when you're on websites and there's Google Ads kind of in the middle, if you're on recipe website, those, and it's similar. So they might be Facebook ads, they might be Google Ads. So under the manual placements, this is where you can pick and choose. And again, you might notice like, why are some of these blocked out? And that's because of the ad type I've chosen. Just some placements aren't available with a certain ad type. But you can always take one out if you think, nope, this isn't going to work for me, or you can add them in. So let's just put them back in for now. Okay. All right. I will say that, okay, if there are any places you don't want your ads to appear, then you can always make a list of publisher block lists, content exclusion type. So if you don't want your ads appearing on a website that is not, that doesn't make your brand happy, you can certainly exclude those. So you can always upload lists or block certain people. So if you're a little bit hesitant about that third party network, there are some controls in place that you can use. Great question so far. Thank you. It makes it more fun for me. All right, so we're on our third step. So we're on the ad component, so creating the ad. And some of you are probably going to notice this start to pop up a lot more. So you're going to confirm your brand's identity. So make sure you choose the right Facebook page, Instagram account, and Threads account if you have that. Sometimes Meta has its own idea of what ad account you're in. So just make sure you pick the right one. And then when you're actually creating the ad, you can kind of do one of two things. You can create a new original ad, right? Or you can, it used to be called use an existing post, and this is new as of Monday. It's called Boost Post. So you can use an existing post and use that in the advertisement. I think I still use the old terminology and the verbiage there. So you can do either one. Okay, so finally we got to the point where Advantage Plus, I actually like it. So this is their AI. Um, so this is where their AI or their Advantage Plus works really well. So if you recall that example of that wine glass with the birds on it, this works really well for shopping ads or sales ads. And it's going to tailor the content to the individual who's seeing it. And it does a really great job at this. So if you're selling a physical product, which I don't think anyone is here, it works really well. So you can go ahead and use it. So the different types of ads that you can do a carousel. So the carousel can have up to 10 different cards on it. So you can include kind of a short little description at the top and then up to 10 different cards. It will include a final card at the end that says your brand, if you choose to have it. Each of these cards here will have unique links. So the one on the right-hand side that clearly has a specific color, that can deep link back into that specific color of that kind of lip balm. This one's a little bit blurry, but so the ad creative will generally look like this. So you could have specific text, you can have specific image, description, headline, and call to action. So this is what the carousel will look like. What a lot of people don't like about this is Meta will determine which image performs best and then put that one at the front. And sometimes people say, well, that puts my carousel out of order. So just know that this is what it will do. There are some preferences to turn that off. But on one hand, well, just know that it's achieving your goal, so it's probably a good thing. So if you do want a specific order, just know it might go askew a little bit based on the activity that it gets. So you can do vertical videos as your ad creative. So think any of your Instagram or Facebook reels. Um, so you can choose these as existing content. So you can use the boost post. So this is sometimes how people say they go viral when in fact they didn't. They just do a boosted post. So they add money to their post to make it look like they went viral. So you can do that too. The one caveat to this is if you use any copyrighted music. So if you're using any of Taylor Swift's new music or, anything that's copywritten, you won't be able to boost it. So just know that going in. That will give you a little kind of error function. And probably the hardest thing for most people is to keep it simple. You're probably thinking, yeah, that's, easy for you to say this is a Timex watch, but keep it simple. People aren't going to read lines and lines and lines of text in an ad. So try to make it quick and to the point. The other thing that your meta ads are going to do, and this tends to be a little bit of a frustration for some people, is there's 3 different sizes to the ads based on the placements that you choose. So let's look here. So when you're planning your creative, there's a link at the bottom. It's, let me just do this and get this link for you. Then I'll just put it in the chat. So Meta sometimes changes things and then forgets to tell us that they've changed things. So rather than me telling you, these are all the sizes that you need, that's probably the best resource that you can go to if you're planning any new creative or any graphics or photography. Before you do a big campaign, just confirm that it is the right size because it will just change and then you'll make all this beautiful graphic and then you'll get to Meta and it will say, oh, we updated things and now they're slightly different. So that's a really good resource for you um, as you start to plan out all the creative. So I say this, but as of today, this is kind of the sizing that they have. So you've got the square, the vertical, and the horizontal. So you can see I've uploaded one image. The original looks great. That's fine. It's a square, but then vertical, you can see that it's cut off and then the horizontal is cut off. So for all 3 options, I can crop it or I can replace the image and that's what you can do. So you can crop it and that's fine. The image might look okay. But you can also replace it with creative that fits as well. So then it looks great across all 3 channels. Don't worry, I'm going to show you this soon. And then the next little part, so we've got our images in there, and the next little part is the caption, and it's that primary text that I mentioned a bit earlier about keeping it very simple. And people honestly don't really read most of this, but you've got your primary text at the top, you've got your main graphic in the middle, and then down below, you've got a description, a headline, and a call to action. It's very simple. Sometimes it can just get a little bit too wordy. The other thing that I'll mention here is for, oh gosh, it probably is years ago now, but there used to be a rule a while ago that you could have a certain percentage of text. That rule doesn't matter anymore. You can use as much text as you want, not to say that it's probably the best option for you. So the primary text appears in most of the placements, but the position of it might vary. So on Facebook, it's above, on Instagram, it's below, on a marketplace ad, it doesn't even exist. So generally keeping it to 125 characters or less is recommended. This is the second place that I think the Advantage Plus AI works really well. So if you can see my example here, in the primary text, I just did I did 5 words. I said, hire JBC for social media. And I'm like, let's see what it can do. So then I let it tailor the different versions, and it actually, it came back. It's a bit salesy for me. But if you give it some good content about your business, it actually does a not bad job. And it will rotate between those 5 different options. So I think it does a really good job here. And yes, you can edit any of these. So if they get a word wrong, or sometimes they do have kind of an American spelling of a word rather than a Canadian. So you can go in and edit any of that. So if they got it mostly right, you can kind of get them across the finish line and clean up anything that's kind of not as relevant. Okay. So again, keeping your text short, clear, and concise. Again, yes, I know it's a Lego ad. We all know what Lego is. Find out of this world Lego gift ideas for space fans. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing here. Okay. People aren't reading. Okay. The other part it's Advantage Plus AI does a great job at is the headline. So the caption component of headline. So I don't even put an option in here. So this is just kind of going from the description I put in earlier. So it's giving me 5 different ideas for a headline. And it did not bad. It probably doesn't quite know what I do. But I think it did okay. Again, headlines won't appear in all placements. And then the last little part is descriptions. They really don't appear in most of the placements, even less so. And then the final thing you choose is your call to action. So we'll talk about those in a minute. So let's make an ad. Let's see what we can do today. Okay, so a couple things to know as we make an ad that cause people a little bit of stress. Number 1, this campaign score. So this is the Advantage Plus. So it's saying we're not doing a good job. That's fine. You can just disregard it. The second thing is it will always give errors, but we haven't even had a chance to put in a phone number. So it's very good at pointing out errors, but sometimes it's not very good at telling us where the errors are. So just keep calm, sometimes grab a coffee, and then come back to Meta. All right, so our first ad, we've got new traffic ad A, great. I've chosen my Facebook pages, great. I can choose to create an ad, or I can boost a post. So let's see. So there's my select post. So now it's going to look at anything I've posted recently. Oh, I'm going to change this actually because it's going to give me a lot of. I must have calls somewhere in here. Oh, I don't want calls. I want website. Okay. All right. So let's go back to boost post. And select post. So now it's going to look at anything we've posted on Facebook, and then you can see some of the little error messages. So it can't be used for ads on Instagram. That was a share. Oh, that's about today. That was a share. You can also look at your Instagram content. So it will tell you, is it a feed post? If it's photo, so reels, video. Okay. So let's just use, for example, this one blog post that I did. All right. Threads profile. Now it's happy. Boost post. So I don't have a catalog. For those of you with catalogs, you could select it in here. There's my URL. There's our primary text. There's our Advantage Plus options. Your call to action. They've gotten a lot better with the call to action buttons. So they have many, many different options in here. You cannot customize your own, but generally people now can find one that works for them. So let's just say maybe get updates, and I'll just put my website in here. Okay. All right, so that's how my ad looks. Now a few little bits in here. So this is a post about our blog. That's great. Just be wary. Can you see this? Let's go in here. Be wary of how it appears in other placements. And it's trying to be very helpful, and that's great. But sometimes it doesn't look great. So, it looks great on Facebook. That's where it was posted originally. But if I go over to how the preview looks on Instagram, it's got this link in it now. But we know that links don't work in Instagram. What is another one here? That one would be fine. This one's kind of ugly. Facebook Marketplace. So see how it's a little bit cut off on the top. It just has my company name there. It's got not much to it. There is ads on Facebook Reels. So take some time and go through and see where it actually looks good and where it doesn't. So sometimes what happens, so who was the person who asked the very astute question? Okay, Kalia. I feel like I'm hurting your name, but create a new ad set every month. So there's some circumstances where I create ads that just go to Facebook using Facebook content, and then I create ads for Instagram using Instagram content because they look different, right? Facebook has links, Instagram does not. So that's another type of organization that we could use for ad sets. Okay, Julia. So is there a way to retroactively tailor? No. So that's not with existing content. So let's do another example where we're making our own ad. So let's create an ad. And we will put it. So the other option is to create your own ads. Okay. So something very cool that Meta Ads has done recently is it's add these additional links. So this is like a whole new world. This is kind of fairly new. So now you can set your creative defaults. So I've got my logo in here, my font, my colors, our tone, and then I've got site links. So these site links appear at the bottom of ads. Let's see if they're going to come up. Sometimes they don't work. Previews here. Site links are on. No, they're not showing up. Let's see if they show up here. Okay, so this one right in the middle here. So see, I've got my picture just pulled from our website. And then at the bottom, it's got our site links. So it's got, if you want a digital audit, meta troubleshooting, private coaching. So maybe this may not resonate, but now you can see the other options in here. And they're all site links, and you can control what appears there. So that's what all of this is doing. Made a carousel out of our site links. So again, it's something that appears, but not in all placements. Okay. Now, Julia is asking about retroactively. So we're just going to customize our own content. Let's find. Let's just use this one. Okay. So you can create your own content or you can customize it. So it does give you some options for cropping, but again, if you're making the graphics, you can kind of already have them tailored. So crop, this one's not going to look good. Well, it might. No, it doesn't because my name's cut off there. Crop. That one could make do. So for something like this, you'd want to replace it to find something that works better. Like that's not perfect, but you can have these different ads going that look good in all placements. And that's the goal. So this information here, it pulled from my website because I put my URL in, and then it's going to give me some AI kind of creations that, again, they do a pretty good job at. Maybe if it shows up. Okay, there it goes. So there's e-commerce entrepreneurs, marketing managers. So then if you didn't like this, I hate when they add hashtags in here. Don't get me started on that, Meta. So you can take out emojis if you don't like them. You can take out hashtags if they're not relevant. AI really likes this little rocket ship, so I always take that out. And if you just don't like something entirely, you can just unclick the box. Same thing with the headline. Again, maybe you like all of them, or you want to edit something or just take something off. So we'll just reflect that, maybe. Yeah, there you go. And then you can choose your call to action. Okay, so this, oh gosh, it's so bad. So this is like the worst of the worst for Meta AI. So it's going to give, so it gives some Advantage Plus creative options, and I've never had a good experience with this ever. So based on the inputs that we've given, this is what they think is good. And I don't think it's good at all. So I just skipped this. I've never used it. And then the last little piece is all these quote unquote creative enhancements. So it's like different call to actions, and you can see they always use emojis. You can have text translated. You can have different overlays. You can have touch-ups, text improvements. It's this one I watch with caution. Certainly if you have to have and go through an approval process for all of your captions, Meta will just change them without telling you. So there's a lot in here. And then sometimes in kind of down in the bottom right, there's more. So they'll hide them. So you can add and remove. Generally, it will give you some previews so you know what you're signing up for. Okay. And then always take a look at the advanced preview, and you can see how your ad is going to look. If you are in the position where you need to send this for approval, you can share preview. So share a link, and then we can turn it on for 60 days. And then there's the link that they can go and view the ads. Okay, so you don't have to do screenshots. You can just send them and say, please approve. We're almost through. Okay, so we talked about this. So I'm kind of scrolling through here because that was the big screen that we went through. It's just showing me again. Okay, so then it's confirming what you want. And then the last little part, this is that data set that I talked about last week. So you can go through and select the data set that you're working with. And if you track any URL parameters, you can put that in there. And then we are almost through. This is my favorite thing that they've actually added. It's actually quite fantastic. So it gives you a preview of the ad setup and it confirms everything that you put in here, which I really appreciate because it's very clear. And then once you're happy, then you click publish. All right. So we've got about 4 minutes. So I'm just going to quickly talk about the reporting. Meg, if you're still here, maybe this is like a 3-part series next time. Okay, so the last little bit that we talk about are the reports, and I've got 3 little slides on here. So for every ad that you create, there's big reports that you can have. So you can have there's so much data that you can have. So some of the ones that people most likely are to ask for. So number 1 is age. So people want to know kind of that age demographic of who's seeing what. Sometimes gender. People want to look and see, what gender is seeing what. And then sometimes people want reports based on creative. So it's going to give you a list of all the creative and then the reach, impressions, frequency, clicks, and so on. So this is going to give you data upon data for all of your ads. And I'm just going to bring this up and show you where it is at least so you can poke around. So all the reports are in this ads reporting here. And on the right-hand side, I'm just going to scroll to show. There's a lot of data. So you can have fun playing around and grabbing all the data that you need. Before you do that, so if you are reporting out and you're working with individuals who say, I really want to know, you can just search at the top here. There's a little search bar and you can search for that data that people are asking for. All right. So, and with that is the very quick wrap up of our meta ads part 2. That does have a lot of information in it. And this is why we break it into 2 sessions. Maybe next time it might be 3 sessions. So we do have a few minutes for Q&A. The next session that I'm running is not until January, but thank you for having me again, Meg and the RTO9.
We're so happy to have you, Jennifer. Every session you do is so informative and it's so helpful for people. And noted, next time it's a 3-part series, just so you can do a deep dive into that reporting section, because I think that's a lot of where you actually see the reward for the work that you've put forward, right? You get
Absolutely.
to actually see that information coming through. So for those watching, Jennifer's going to be back in January with Google Business Profile, which a lot of you may or may not know is something that you actually can access when someone Googles your business. That little info panel that shows up on the slide can be owned by you and you can make edits to it. So that's what we're going to be covering in January with Jennifer. We also have a session coming up in November about attracting and retaining volunteers for events. And we will also be having one as a 3rd installment to our AI series. So there's lots of good stuff coming up for November and December. We won't see Jennifer again until January, but we will be thinking of her because we'll be looking forward to this session. So I don't see any questions for you, Jennifer. It's because you
Yeah,
just
there was lots of questions throughout, so maybe everyone got them through
yeah, there
as
you
we
go.
were
It's
going
because you
through.
do such a good job explaining
Thank
everything.
you. I
So
try my best.
so thank you everyone for coming and thank you so much, Jennifer, for giving us another look
Absolutely.
at meta ads. And
Absolutely.
we'll discuss doing a section just on reporting and pulling
Yeah.
those numbers because I feel like you can never have too much data when it
Yeah.
comes to, knowing what worked and what didn't and where you should be putting.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us and we're right on time. So
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of your day and look out for the follow-up email that will be coming out today with a copy of the recording and just a quick survey to help give us some feedback. So
That's great.
bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.